think we're live. We're live. Go ahead.
No, not.
We are live.
Yep. Okay.
Hey, y'all. I think they're about to get sick of us.
No.
I think the people about to get sick of us.
We're bringing the people information. So we had a great conversation.
And I didn't even put y'all on notice that y'all about to be sick of me. But it seems like y'all about to be sick of us.
I don't think so, though. I don't think so.
Okay. All right. We're doing a public service.
We're doing a public service. So we are in the process of interviewing Ted Victor, who is
Teodoro Miguel Victor.
Say it again.
Teodoro Miguel Victor.
You better talk about it, sis. I don't want to mess up people's names because I'll be, pronouncing it correctly. But I call him Ted. But he's running for Broward
County State Committeeman. Yeah, he's trying to be the state committeeman for the Democratic Party for Broward County.
Broward County, right. So
yes.
We are what we do on our show. This is Race and Races, and we normally do not normally. We're a political show. We talk about all things politics, everything in between. We are on YouTube, so we appreciate if you would like, share, and subscribe. We're on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, like our page. We are on also Twitter and Instagram. And we put highlights on there, but we really would appreciate you go to our YouTube page, like, share, and subscribe. Look at some of our videos, like all our videos if you can, and to help us continue on. We are Sandra and I created the show out of I don't know. I want to
out of a need to have a place to express ourselves and what was going on. It really became like a space to not only inform people about down ballot candidates, but just to talk about some of the issues that are going on. That it really wasn't a space to have those conversations. And I'm glad that we kind of inspired others to do so. And there's a lot of folks are coming on and creating spaces, and it's all important. There's enough room for everyone to create a space like this. And so, I think we did our, I used to do things on the Democratic Women's Club page, more the candidate stuff. And then we had, I believe it was when the Breonna Taylor grand jury failed to indict those officers was that day that we really felt the need to have the show go this way. And, to be able to talk about other things besides candidates, or as well as candidates. And, we created this space, and that's what we did. So I think Teodoro is here. So we're going to add him to the stream because folks have probably been waiting. They've been waiting to talk to him. Good
evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Good evening, my peoples. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Now, how can I find you on Facebook?
Oh, we're already live streaming on Facebook. Do you need to share?
How would I find you on Facebook?
We're on
Race and Races. But it's also on my personal page too.
On both our personal pages.
Race and the Races, right?
Yeah.
Not race. It's just Race and the Races.
I should already know that. Yes, I see our beautiful faces. That is amazing.
Yep. We're gonna get this going, people.
So we mentioned a little bit about our show. We also talked about you coming on and talking about your race for Broward Committeeman. And I think that I guess it's a statewide.
We can't forget the state part because I
was just saying it's a statewide position.
Yes.
So, but for Broward County because
he has the T for the whole state. I was told.
Yes, we intend to represent Democrats in Broward County at the state level and also at the national level.
Okay.
All right. So so introduce yourself first. Tell us who you are, what it is that you're doing, and then
how much time we got? You
got at least 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more if you still interesting after about 30 minutes. We'll keep talking.
I can take up all the oxygen in the room if you let me, so
all right. So do that intro and tell us what this position is about and why it is that you think you're the best person for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ted Victor. That's the short version. Being a non-English speaking immigrant to this country, my name is Thierry Teodoro Miguel for Val Victor, originally from the island of Hispaniola. My heritage is both Dominican and Haitian and also Cuban. I came to Brooklyn, New York at the age of 5. That's where I did most of my formative years. Then I went to college at Brooklyn College. I went to school also in Brazil, South America. I was a medical student. I was at Howard University, HU. I didn't finish because I fell in love. I got a heart like that. I was here doing rotations until they asked me to get a cosigner for my loans. And I said, nope, I'm not doing that. So I use all the degrees that I have. I often say I have more degrees than a thermometer. I used all my medical training and scientific training, became a science teacher. I've been teaching science for about maybe 20, 25 years now. Married to a nurse. We have wonderful children. And that is it. Now, recently, a good friend of mine within our circle asked me, how long have I been a Democrat? And I almost didn't understand the question. I just had to kind of think about it. When I was 19, and I really don't know how old you young ladies are, you sisters are. When I was 19, my 3rd year in college at Brooklyn College, I remember fighting with punctuality, running to class, and the Red Cross was on campus at Brooklyn College. They were asking for donate blood, save a life, donate blood, save a life. And I'm running to get to class. And the gentleman said, sir, please stop, donate blood. And I said, so I'm running to class. He says, you know, we give out Snicker bars as well. I said, you have Snicker bars? You know? And then I said, well, how much time is it going to take? Because I'm late to class. He said, it doesn't take that long. And so I started filling out the paperwork, and, you know, the paper asks your name, address, and the origins, you know, where your people's from, where your family from. And I put down Haiti. The minute I put down Haiti, the man said, stop. We can't take your blood. I was like, what you mean by you cannot take my blood? You know, Haitians have, you know, are suspected of having AIDS. And there began my political activism. I remember, for any of you who are familiar with New York, we have the train that connects Manhattan and Brooklyn. And we walked across the Brooklyn Bridge. I had never walked on the Brooklyn Bridge until that time. We Haitian community, and I'm proud to say in every type of rallying movement, there's a silver lining because there are other communities as well that joined us. We were protesting the discrimination against Haitian people, and all of the people that were there were Democrats. So my activism began at the age of 19, and I'll be a wonderful 50 later on this year. So that's that. I hope I didn't speak too much, but you can ask me because I can go on further.
Oh no, that's great. You definitely started your political activism at 19. You've been, I'm assuming, a Democrat since then.
You know what? I love that question because that is something that anybody can verify. I've never been any other party because any cause, any type of community fight, there's just always been Democrats there. I mean, I don't know anything different.
So give us an idea of what a committee man or state committee man does. What is that position? What does that entail, and what do you do?
Very good question. And why am I the better candidate for this position? So there are layers, okay? So you have regional clubs for the Democratic Party. You have maybe a club in Plantation. You have a club in Pembroke Pines. And you have kind of like the umbrella of the clubs, right? So the committee man for the county, along with the committee woman, is going to kind of support the clubs and also be a liaison between the county and the state, Tallahassee, and also in DC as well. And the reason that I believe that I'm the best candidate for this job is because I have, and it's easy to verify this on social media because I own a social media platform. I'm a coalition builder. There's just no way we can win this, bring back some blue to Florida, reinvigorate our club, our party without turning over every stone. I thought it was a problem, but now I see what the universe is doing. She had a method to her madness. You know, I communicate in 5 languages. And I would use all of those languages in order to be able to reach as many. And if I have to learn some more, I'll learn some more in order to be able to reach as many people as possible, because folks have been leaving the Democratic Party because they're losing hope. Folks have been not necessarily seeing what they would like to see. You know, we're now a red state, quote unquote. I really don't believe that we're a red state. We're a blue state with Democrats who don't vote, or we're a blue state with Democrats who have given up. And I'm going to do my very best to reach out to as every community possible to be able to bring us back together as a family. You cannot win this without the LGBTQ community. You cannot win this without the Black community. You cannot win this without the Hispanic community. You cannot win this without the Haitian community. You cannot win this without the Brazilian community. And you cannot win this without the Muslim community, the Jewish community. Okay, you need all short people, all tall people, all bald-headed people to be able to come back and be a part of this family and bring some sense into what's going on. The other reason I stayed active is because I ran for office in Pembroke Pines in 2018. I ran out of fear and love for my children, for our children. One of the ways you can help to make the world a better place is by having a seat at the table. Thus, you run for office. There's a time and place to protest outside, but then there's a time and place to sit down at the table and make policy. The last week in February, one of my students, not somebody else's student at MacArthur High School, it was on the news, brought in a loaded gun to school. He was on campus, a 14-year-old now. He was on campus since 7 o'clock. They discovered the loaded gun around 12:30. A loaded gun, a 14-year-old on my job. This could have been an easy replay of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Around the same time, Republicans are giving us the, I don't even want to say opportunity, but giving us the situation to carry a gun without a license. What are we doing? I thought we would have been safer after Stoneman Douglas. The whole world knew about that. We're no safer than we were then. So if someone's going to serve as a coalition builder, he or she needs to be able to reach out and have a good relationship. And this happens by building relationships. I feel comfortable speaking to you ladies because I'm not meeting you for the first time. Running for office or being a community person is about building relationships. And I can honestly tell you, all you have to do is just Google this bald head. You will see my face with your face in a picture somewhere in the past.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
I'm on mute?
No.
I'm on mute. Okay, so I have some questions. So I hear you say that it's important, to build coalition, and that you have the languages that can help you communicate with folks. I don't think it's a language issue that people in the Democratic Party have. I think it's an issue. So what type of issues do you think would actually bring the party together? Because there's space for everybody in the Democratic Party, so they say. But what issues do you think would stand on that would bring the party together? Because just being able to speak a whole bunch of languages ain't gonna be enough.
Okay, well, I love that question. How about education? How about safety? How about education? How about safety? When I was running for office, a lot of people do not know about the 60-40-20. What is the 60-40-20? 60% of the kids graduating from K-12 high school or going to 2-year colleges will need remedial classes, which means that the K-12 system has dropped the ball. 40% of the kids going to 4-year colleges are taking remedial classes, which means that they have to pay for a class, not get credit for it, and graduate even longer. 5 to 20% of kids going to Ivy League institutions coming out of public schools are taking remedial classes. That right there in itself.
Remedial classes at an Ivy League?
Right. Yes. Imagine going to Princeton and having to retake English. Let me give you another reality. This is not from the textbook. This is me. When Venezuela had its crisis, the economic crisis in Venezuela, those kids ended up in my classroom. When Haiti had its earthquake, those kids ended up in my classroom as a multilingual science teacher. Those kids outperform American students. those kids up without English. Because where I come from, you either work or die. We don't have welfare. Most people I know are heavily vested in the education of their children.
So okay, education is important, but what is it that a candidate would do for education that will be beneficial for students?
Hey,
Just to say education that's a big brush.
That's a very good, but once you're elected, I hate to say it, but once you're elected, you probably have the ear of the decision makers. And I can say to possibly some senators or the school board, and I can say, look, please put it in your budget. You should have already done it, but put in your budget to put metal detectors at the school. Have a single point of entry.
So can I
hold on. My guess is, as parents, while you're at work and your kids are at school, you want to be able to close your eyes and know that they're safe. Not that a classmate has a loaded gun in his backpack. That in itself is the beginning of us rallying together as a community, because we all want the best for our children. We all want our children to be safe. That's the beginning.
You mentioned a key thing about a lot of people leaving the Democratic Party. And I think one of the issues and some of the stuff that Chandra and I have discussed in the past in terms of the Democratic Party is that the messaging. Our messaging is not as robust,
cohesive,
as cohesive. And I think we've had this conversation with you as well in the process. But what is it that you can do for Broward County? Because one of the things that we mentioned a few days ago, Sandra and I, we were on with Naomi, was Broward is a little bit light blue. We used to be really dark blue. So what is it that your goal is to get Broward back to being dark blue? And also what would be that conduit or between you and the new Florida Democratic chair on trying to get, number one, messaging, number two, fundraising, and I'm not sure if the Committeeman does that, and then number three, of making sure that the Democratic Party is stronger than ever?
Well, I'll take let's start with the messaging. That's a big task. I'm going to just put it out there. I'm going to start with basic dignity for every person. I cannot speak for you. But I'm still upset over somebody in a position of power calling my people shithole country. Everybody needs to be respected. I want to be able to bring dignity back to a party. I want to be able to bring hope back to our party. I tell my wife, there's no such thing as love without respect.
But that wasn't a Democrat that said that.
No, it wasn't a Democrat that said that's why they need to come back here.
Well, I don't know if they left for there. I think they left to become MPAs. Most of them have become MPAs.
Some have.
But those aren't the ones that I'm not saying you don't want them, but the ones that I think that are.
I'm going to reach out to everybody.
Huh?
I'm going to reach out to everybody.
No, I'm not saying you don't reach out to everybody, but one of the things that I think needs to happen is that there needs to be a more focused approach on getting people, right? Because I saw some of the campaigns last season that they basically built their campaigns around people that weren't going to vote for them, right? They were catering to a group of folks that was not going to vote for them because they were trying not to be, just be like, we're here to, welcome everybody, but everybody ain't about to vote for you. This is a numbers game at some point, and you need to focus on the folks that's going to vote for you, that's going to get you to win, and that's going to get you to that position. So we need to know, as someone that wants to represent, the voice of the Democratic folks that are Democrats in Broward County on the state level, what can you do? Narnique's question was about messaging. What message do you think will really bring people together? The fact that 45 was referring to, Haiti and other places as shithole countries, that's not what divided folks. We need to know, what is it that you think we can all agree on that's going to bring the party together?
I love you dearly, but I do believe that was a piece of division. When you are disrespecting a segment of the population, I'm not necessarily, that's a way of unity. What I look at unity is definitely starting with respect and focusing on what's important to us. Education, definitely. Our jobs, the economy, for sure. I'm not necessarily how far the state committee man will be involved with that in terms of making policy, but I definitely will have to
No,
address it
not about
because
policy, but so if you're doing the messaging, you got to get these Democratic people to have a reason to vote. And one of the reasons why another one of the mistakes that I think I saw happen in 22 was that Democrats were saying, vote for me because those people suck, right? Like,
well, I would say when I was running, I see what
Mhm.
you're saying, and maybe I'm going to repeat it again, and maybe it's not good enough for you. When I was running, I would say vote for respect, basic decency. Maybe that's not enough for you, but for me, respect is important.
Respect is important.
When the person is in power is calling certain segments or degrading certain segments of a population, I'm not necessarily sure that's the way to go. I don't think we can even have a conversation unless we respect each other.
Okay. All right. So
I don't think we can even
safety.
be in the same room unless we respect each other. So once you have the basic understanding of respect, then we can start talking about, okay, how are we going to make sure that our communities are safe? How are we going to make sure that the education is actually really educating our kids? Our schools, I hate to say it, are sophisticated diploma mills now. If the parent complains enough, they can actually pretty much get the kid the grade that they want. Teachers are being pressured by administration and by students and by the community to just kind of give away grades. I don't do it.
I don't either. All
I
right,
don't.
so safety. We talked. So I understand the education thing. That's a complicated. I guess it's becoming a more and more complicated issue because they're trying to teach less, and sometimes the students don't already don't know enough. That's for the candidates, because what your job is going to really focus on is getting Democrats to go out and vote for other Democrats, and also advise these candidates on what the issues are that the people want addressed when they become legislators. Is that part of what it is that you're going to do?
That's part of it, because obviously we are. I want us to be one blue family, but we're not going to have a monolithic mindset. We're not. The economy may be more important to some people, and education is more important to me. At some point, we are going to have the conversation and craft that message that you're looking for. But I think that the other side may be just like us, but they just are better at closing the doors, having the disagreement behind doors, and showing up with a message. I'm going to have to sit down with you and the members of the party to figure out, okay, maybe it's going to be majority rule. If it's going to be, let's fight for the safety of our communities, let that be the message. If the safety is going to be, let's fight for higher wages, very specifically, so we can then live in safer communities, so we can then be able to afford housing, let that be the message. I know different people have different levels of importance. There's a colleague of mine, she voted a particular way, strictly related to abortion, related to the right to life.
Okay, but
Go ahead.
I think there should be a general consensus for all Democrats, that a general consensus, a general focus that
we're going to have to get that.
Because all these aspects are everything that's important to us, yes, but there should be a general focus on messaging and also getting Democrats to vote and getting them registered and getting them elected.
So let me ask you a question. You're 100% correct. So let's just say we have 100 Democrats in the room. Okay, 80% of them want to talk about economy and 20% want to talk about education. Do we not address the 20% who wants to talk about education?
No, but I think Sandra and I are on the same page. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying that those are byproducts of stuff that we are on the same page about, because we may not want to, it just depends on what the level of priority is for people. But for a general consensus for the Democratic Party, we need to get more Democrats registered. We need to get more Democrats elected.
That is definitely my goal.
Messaging. So I think what I'm trying to say is that what's important to you and what may be important to me or Sandra is really not, we're not dismissing that. But there should be a general, broader consensus, just like Sandra mentioned, about focused messaging on what we need to do to get Democrats all together.
Let me continue that conversation. Let me expand that. For us to have a focused, broad message, we have to identify our priority.
But the party doesn't have to be one thing. Like it's not. I don't know if I'm giving the impression that I'm saying that it should be one thing. Safety is an issue. Education is an issue. Freedom of choice is an issue.
But I'm listening.
Those
But
are
wait a
all
minute.
things.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute now. Let me rephrase what you're saying. You're saying what will be the message? Grammatically, that implies one.
Well, no, I mean, no, not necessarily. No.
What will be the message?
What I'm saying is that, first of all, I think when it coming off of the last election, one of the things, we were in a meeting, Sandra and I, and one of the things that we talked about before going into the meeting is that, and even in the meeting it was talked about, the messaging was trash. Democratic messaging was not on point. There was some that was doing one thing, somebody doing something else, and the difference between us and the other side is that they were consistent. And
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Now I get what you're saying. So let me go ahead and reframe what you're saying. So let's just say we do decide that the economy, education, and safety are three of our priorities. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever is going to have that leadership role, whether it be me, you, or Sandra, whoever, Grace, whoever, we all have to be talking about the very same three things. That's going to give us that united front that you're looking for. What you're talking about is absolutely correct, right? John gets on stage, he talks about education. Mary gets on stage, she talks about safety. Joe gets on stage and talks about something else. Yes, we're not going to look like as if we're on the same page. However, if we have a meeting and we make a decision and we prioritize what's important to most of us, and then when we craft our message together, we're going to definitely have that unified front that's necessary for our party. I understand what you're saying. I'm not comfortable making decisions for other people because I can take the oxygen. I'm the first of all of my mother's children or my parents' children. I can take leadership very quickly. So I'd like to be able to sit down, be the team player that's needed, and say, okay, well, what is important to our team, and how are we going to craft that message together?
All right. So is outreach part of what it is that you're going to do?
Major.
Okay.
Major.
So what does outreach look like as for Ted Victor, the Broward State Committee person? What is outreach? How are you going to get to folks? What is?
That's a very good question. Just like when I was running for office, I go to the churches. Bonjour, nom c'est Thierry. Comment ça va? Introduce myself. I go to the different clubs. I go to the Kiwanis Club. I go to the Urban League and say, this is what we're doing. We would like to invite you to the table to have a conversation to be able to form a plan so we can better the lives of all the residents in Broward County. Outreach involves talking to people who feel like they're not being heard. Outreach means you talk to women who should be in charge of their reproductive health care, who are not being heard. My mother is a retired OBGYN. I don't understand why men are making those decisions. Outreach means when I am with the Muslim community and they say that they do not see somebody represented, and I say, okay, well, how is it that we can make that happen? Outreach means talking to everybody respectfully and listening to them. Outreach means that single parent who is sending his kid to school, not just for an education, but for food, means listening to that mom. Outreach simply means talking to everybody. On the other hand, there are some people who talk to only specific groups. I'm bald-headed, I'm only going to talk to the bald-headed people. That doesn't help our community. Outreach means going everywhere, going to every event, going to the Salsa Festival, going to the Haitian Democratic Club, going to the Hispanic Caucus, and introducing myself and saying, I would like to be the person to carry your message for you. Fortunately for me, I have a record of doing that. I am a coalition builder. I am a person who believes that everybody is somebody.
So that place sounds like a place where a bunch of old people hang out. How are you going to reach out to the young folks?
Oh, I'm a teacher. I teach ninth graders. That's what I do.
They can't vote yet. So how
5
do you
days a week.
reach out to young folks, college students?
Say that again, please.
How do you reach out to the young folks? Like the vote, ninth graders ain't voting. So that's that, you know, I mean, you talk to the ninth graders, but they're not voting. So how do you get?
Ninth graders may not be voting, but I teach at a high school. That's a fresh batch of people who will become voters. And right down the street is Broward College. Right down the street is Broward College. I own a mentoring company. I take kids out of the classroom and bring them into the real world and say, look, this is why you need to pay attention to homework. The grades are not about saying that you're smart. The grades are about you saying, the grades convey that you can get the job done. So I go to, in my classroom, right in the middle of talking about genetics and the periodic table, I tell them this is important because at some point you're going to get a job and you're going to need to use that job to pay for your bills. I carry the same message when I go to Broward College down the street. And if you do not participate in the laws that affect you, you're not going to be able to have any type of control of how your environment is rolling. You have to be able to be a member of your community. And here's why it's important, because the amount of tax you pay, that's political. Where you live, that's political. The boundaries, that's political. They do not necessarily see these invisible lines impacting their lives because they may be unaware. How you carry yourself, all of that matters. All of that matters.
So
how do I get one of my kids who's failing, which has happened many times in 25 years, who's failing class, sitting in the back of the classroom on a cell phone, how do I get him to be engaged? I bring it into a space and introduce him to people who did not have that many resources and were able to make it. I have one of my mentors, her name is Dr. Yolanda Jackson. She's a doctor in nursing. When she talks to my kids, she talks about how both her parents were crack addicts. And she was able to make it happen. When they hear that story, they come back to my classroom with their back straight, with greater effort to make it happen. You have got to care about your future. Mm-hmm. Young people, we have got to care about our community.
So let me ask you something, Ted. So the committeeman, the state committeeman, what is the top priority for that particular position? Sandra mentioned outreach. Do you have to do fundraising? Are you part of any fundraising? Is that
I don't believe that's part of the purview of the state committeeman, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
No.
What is the purview of the state committeeman?
There are layers, right? So there are clubs. There are clubs per city, right? Okay. Yeah. There's the Democratic Club in Plantation, Democratic Club in Hollywood. If let's just say a group of Democrats don't have a space to convene, I might be able to make some phone calls and find a place to meet. Let's just say a club does not have enough membership. I might be able to help use my established social media platform to, hey, listen, there's this group meeting in your area. They're meeting on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. That's locally. Now, at the state level, that's locally. So now when it comes to the state committeeman, it will be my responsibility, along with my partner, to be able to convey what's happening in Tallahassee, in Broward County, with regards to Democrats.
Okay.
So I'd like to be able to see all clubs flourish. I'd like to be able to see all clubs increasing membership. I'd like to be able to see more participation in our people, in our community, in our clubs, in our party. Because frankly, I'm not just saying this. This is not political. This is not political for me. This is personal. My daughter is a sophomore in high school, in international baccalaureate program, taking college classes. She is a candidate to take African American studies, college level. But now she doesn't have that opportunity. She's taking history of Europe, no problem. U.S. history, world history, but African American studies does not have educational value. That is a problem for me. It's personal. We must get engaged. And I'm just limiting it because I can go off on a whole tangent about that. Next question. And I hope I've answered your questions. If I haven't, we can do another segment so I can come back with better answers.
No.
I may not have all the answers now. I'm giving you what I got.
No. I mean, no, and that's what, and you know, and one of the things that's important is like authenticity is like one of the most important things, right? People need to see, you know, what you're saying is what you're saying, and that, you know, you ain't pulling their leg, or you know what I'm saying, like blowing
I don't have
smoke, you know
I don't have prepared questions. I don't have prepared questions. This is off the cuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, we usually don't get prepared questions. Like,
yeah, we don't. We don't operate like that.
There's like a place for that. But you know, you actually did say something, because I know safety is one of the things that are like of so much concern. And then, you know, and the unfortunate reality is that all of the things that the governor wants to do is gonna happen because there's a super majority. You know, the Republicans have a super majority in both the House and the Senate in Tallahassee. So whoever has this position, they have like a very important job in front of them to get more Democrats elected, particularly, you know, to at least, I mean, hopefully we can, I don't know if we're going to flip anything, but we at least need to get, you know, have enough folks in there that there's no longer a super majority. So these people, you know, so these Republicans can go and do whatever it is that they want to do, right? But I always have this concern about folks who are running for position, understanding root causes of problems, as opposed to wanting to deal with them from based on symptoms, right? And I did hear you mention when you talked about safety and security, something about having metal detectors in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a symptom of a greater problem, right? And I don't know if I'm a fan of metal detectors, right? Like I don't think I'm a fan of that. And so, like, why is it that you think that that's a way to bring safety in schools?
I'm with you. Mm-hmm. You are 100% correct. But considering that I'm in that classroom with loaded gun, I will take the metal detector now. I will take the metal until we figure it out.
So,
I called the student. I said, "Why did you bring?" Because I'm one of those teachers that's kind of like in your face. Where's my homework? Where my homework at? You know, and I was like, "What were you? You were going to shoot me if I asked you for homework?" And he said, "No, he was literally afraid for his life." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Somebody had threatened his life outside of school." So when you said it's a larger problem, it is a larger problem, kids bringing guns to school. Absolutely, it's a larger problem. But just like when you go to the airport, they have a metal detector. You have some type of system you go through to make sure that you're safe. I will take that in the meantime. Until we figure out those problems, I will take that in the meantime. Because that happened on a Monday. I took Tuesday off because my mind wasn't right. Honestly, when I walk into my classroom, I think about the futures of my students. For those 90 minutes per class, they're my kids.
So one of the things that they did vote on in Tallahassee some years back was that teachers could have guns in classrooms. Is that something you would support?
When I was running in 2018, that was a conversation, and absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't. Listen, I cannot speak for your house, but I think certain places are sacred. A house of worship is sacred. A place of learning is sacred. What's the likelihood that a kid can get their hands on that gun? No, I do not want a gun in the classroom. Absolutely not. That changes the chemistry in the classroom, the energy in the classroom completely.
So that's not a temporary solution until they can find out the real way to deal with this issue? To have to allow guns in the classroom?
Not for me. There's one teacher and about 30 to 40 students in the classroom. The likelihood that a group of kids can decide to just jump a teacher and take that gun, and then what? No, I do not want a gun in any classroom. Absolutely not. I would not want my child to go into a classroom where the teacher has a gun. I mean, what are we saying, people? What are we doing? I mean, are you going to bring a gun into a church?
I mean, there was a situation in Texas where it was helpful.
I understand that, but I'm telling you, me personally, If you don't have that gun, you are not going to be able to shoot somebody with it. And I totally understand. I have family members who are gun carriers, and I totally understand wanting to protect yourself. That's wonderful and all that good stuff. But how many times we watch those movies where people fighting over the gun and then the wrong person has the gun?
No, in real life, the numbers are that, and again, I don't interpret this as me being against people constitutional right, Second Amendment right to bear arms. Like that ain't what I'm saying.
Exactly.
But like even when you look at the numbers, people who have weapons in their home, it ends up hurting somebody in the home more than it hurts somebody that's outside of the home, right? Or some burglar or whoever it is, the boogeyman that they're worried about. It usually ends up harming someone in the home.
My classmate, his name happened to be Andy. No connection to any recent names in this process. My classmate in high school, his father was a cop. Died just like that. He was playing with the gun, showing it off. Don't want it. Don't want it. That's where I stand. Do not want it in the classroom. I don't think it should be on school campuses. And yes, there are many layers to this issue. Here's one example. This kid who brought a loaded gun to school, who got it from some friends, this kid's come from a single parent home. Is it possible that a mother can be the best parent possible? Absolutely. However, with the father not being there, he didn't feel safe. That's a deeper issue. Beyond me, beyond you.
Listen, I ain't gonna I'm not about to get sensitive right now, because it's every time we get on somebody out here talking about some single parents and putting some responsibility on them.
But I did say,
let me just make
Barack Obama was raised by a single parent.
I'm gonna just make my point. There's a thousand. There could be 1,001 other reasons why that boy did that, and I don't appreciate the fact that all roads be leading down to single mothers and absent fathers and why boys and girls are doing certain things is all I'm gonna say. It's 1,001 other reasons, and this whole narrative that's always a thing is absolutely problematic for me. But we came here to talk about you and how you're gonna go ahead and get these Democrats elected, and give them that data and even for the ones that are running locally and those that are running statewide, how you gonna get that information. So another right now to get those precinct people to vote for you, to give you that position. What is it that you want to tell them? And in your final remarks, let them know why it is that you're the best person for that job.
Well, before I get to that, another avenue to bring people in is because most of the time people are thinking about keeping the lights on and keeping food on the table. A lot of people don't really even know what's going on. I get that all the time. Ted, who should I vote for? Simply being a source of information is major. To be able to break it down into sound bites and say, this candidate stands for this. That's why you either want to vote for this candidate or not for this candidate. I have been doing that on my platform in 5 languages for years. So that is definitely a way that I can help bring some people in. So why should folks vote for Ted Victor? For the record, anybody running for this position, I respect, because it takes courage to run for office. It is not easy. It takes time. It is sometimes a thankless job. You don't get paid for it. Everyone running, I believe, are good candidates. However, in this particular case, when it comes to reaching out to different communities, based on the evidence, based on our social media presence, based on the fact that I can do this en créole, me capable de créole avec haïtien, voy a hablar español con la gente que habla español, falar con la gente que fala portugués. And when I was running, the biggest donors for my campaign were the Muslim community. Those relationships are established. Running for office is about developing relationships. And those relationships have been established before this day, before this week. And I'd like to be able to invite those established relationships to rebuild our blue democratic family. My name is Ted Victor, and sincerely, I do believe, I know, with respect to everybody else running for this position, I'm the best candidate for this position. Do not vote for who you like. Vote for who can get the job done, respectfully.
Thank you so much, consensus builder.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Muchas gracias. Les agradezco profundamente.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for those of you who are just tuned in and has been with us all this time, we appreciate you being here. Also know that we have our show that comes on every Wednesday at 5:30. On the 19th, of April, we'll be having our chair, Nikki Fried. And we'll have a conversation with her, talk about what her vision is for Florida, and the Democratic Party. So we are excited to talk with her. And we also talk for everything in between. There's a lot of stuff going on, especially in...
And we'll know who the Broward State Committee person will be by that date. So we're going to see, how she's going to collaborate with them too.
Right, absolutely.
For the people who can vote, which are precinct committee captains and elected officials, the election date is on April 15th. Please be at the Flamingo Park location in Sunrise. It's posted on social media. I believe it's 12855 Northwest 8th Street, Flamingo Park, Sunrise, 9 a.m. Please come to vote. If you are not able to make it, please send a proxy.
I have the address. You're right. So it's 12855 Northwest 8th Street, Sunrise, Florida, 33326, April 15, 9 a.m. is the election.
Please, I'm asking for all committee men and committee women to please come and vote for the best candidate who can get the job done to bring our party back together in order to be able to bring some blue back to Florida. Because as a scientist, I've never seen a red wave. All the waves I've ever seen have been blue. And I'd like to keep it that way.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
Au revoir. Adios. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Commercial, or we're done, or we got a few more things to say?
Well, I just wanted to, before we go, we want to thank Mr. Victor for coming on. Again, the date was April 15th at 9 a.m. And I think Sandra gave the address. If you want to just relook at the video again, this will be up on our YouTube page and our Facebook page. But I just wanted to know what your thoughts are. I know you touched on it just a little bit when we were talking to Naomi, but I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were about the 2 Congress people who were expelled from Congress in Tennessee, and how that is indicative of what's going around the nation in state legislators that ran by Republican parties. And
so Justin Jones got his seat back. Justin Jones got reappointed. He got appointed, and they said that it was almost certain that was going to happen, because they had talked about it even when he got expelled, suspended, whatever word they used, that he was going to get his seat back. And then the other young man, Justin, what's his last name? Oh my God. And I looked it up earlier and I forgot it, but he's also a Justin, and he's from, I think, an area called Shelby County, and they weren't certain that they were going to reinstate him. They didn't.
And that was because the local commission was what had the power to put him back.
The council could put him back. The council had the ability to put him back, and they put Justin Jones back in his seat, and Shelby County is deciding whether they were going to do the same thing.
And I want to highlight that there was 3 of them that that broke the House rule, and 2 of which were Black young men, and then the other one was a white woman who was in her 60s. However, she was not expelled, but the 2 young Black men were. And I think that is important to point out, because these state legislators that are ran by Republican parties.
Justin Pearson is the other person.
That's right.
Yeah. I thought that's what it was, but I didn't want to say it and be wrong. But I just confirmed it. Yeah, he didn't get his seat back yet.
Right. So and we're hoping that's a possibility. But this is just indicative of how democracy is literally, and has always been since 45, been in power on the ballot. So I think it's really, really important as we move forward in election year coming up in 2024, that we focus, especially the Democratic Party, focus on making sure that they are helping candidates, they're pushing their candidates, and their messaging is on point. That's one of the real reasons why.
Yeah, so the message is important. They need to help candidates, and they definitely need to not let anybody run unopposed. There should be not one Republican running unopposed nowhere. If part of what they need to do is fundraise and get filing fees in order for folks to be able to run for office. Like some of these folks is getting into office with no work, no competition, no nothing. Like, nah, that can't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we definitely need to do that. And if it needs to be a more moderate, whatever moderate Democrats look like or whatever, then that's what you need to do. But what we can't continue to have is to have, some of these Republicans win their seats without opposition, without any sort of challenge. And then we need to also pay attention to candidate quality too. And I'm not saying a lot of the folks who ran weren't good candidates, but some of them just wasn't good candidates, So candidate quality is also
I think, Sandra, that's important. We have those difficult conversations, right? I think it's important that we highlight, and we not even highlight, but we understand that some of our candidates just are not it. It is what it is.
And it's important. And I know it's good to have, we need to have a person who's going to be in there that's not going to only support people that they're fans of, right? Like this should not. And I mean, having fans are a good thing, because I mean, some of these races, like if you have enough voting fans, you might be all right. You know what I mean? But one of the things that we don't want to have is just have people only supporting people that they are a fan of. We need folks who are going to be able to really put the time, put the effort in, make sure it's a good, there are good candidates out there, and then put all of the support that they need behind them in order for them to get them win. All this personality politics, it ain't getting us nowhere. It ain't getting us nowhere. And then the other thing too is this idea that, a lot of times Democrats are looking for perfection. Like they want this perfect candidate. I mean, I don't think we should do things just because, Republicans are doing them. But at the end of the day, this whole idea of trying to find a perfect candidate is absolutely insane when these folks are letting liars and robbers and all
murderers murderers.
Yeah, murderers stayed on the ballot, didn't win. But, we have a rep right now who they basically realized that everything about him was fabricated. All of the reasons people voted for George Santos turned out to be a lie. And the Republicans, if that was the Democrats, they would have already kicked him out of office and said, no, we can't have him here. But they're like, no, he's going to stay right here. And all of that, right? So one of the things that we need to not continue to look for this perfection, get good quality candidates, and and be embarrassed if y'all lose against somebody that's absolutely a liar and everything about them ain't true, because we don't want to go and vet people, right? And sometimes that needs to be part of what that needs to be also what Democrats need to do. Is they need to vet the opposition, because had they vetted this George Santos guy, there's no way he should have won. They out here, trying to be whatever.
I just think that and I also believe that I also feel like the Democrats are not capitalizing on how this party has become so abhorrent. And what I mean by capitalizing, I just mean by just, when you have them have several candidates, this wasn't just the Sortor, what is his name? Whatever his name is.
George Santos. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just not him. He wasn't just the only abhorrent candidate that they had. There was a slew of them.
There's a whole bunch of them.
It's a slew of them. And I think that the Democrats need to make sure that they really focus on honing in on making their messaging as strong as possible. Clearly, the party of family values is not really the party of family values. And so we need to be able to kind of capitalize on that in a way that is constructive and productive and get us all focused on what needs to happen. Ted mentioned about having a seat at the table. I think that is in paramount. Clearly, we don't have seats at the table at the state legislature, but we're hoping that as the time goes on, 2 years of 2024 is coming up. We're hoping that we can put some seats. I just want people to be very, very focused and driven about making sure that no Republican candidate run unopposed. None whatsoever. Zilch, period. So I just wanted to know what your thoughts were. I'm glad that you mentioned that one was reinstated. I hadn't gotten.
Yeah, I had just checked before we came on. So yeah, he was reinstated, and then we're waiting to see what's going to happen with Justin Pearson and what Shelby County is going to do in his particular case. But yeah, we definitely need someone in there that's going to be able to really do outreach, really convince Democrats that it's important to come out and vote, and give them a reason to vote that's more than just that the Republicans suck. Look at what they're doing. No, they need to.
That's not going to be enough.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough.
That's not going to be enough. That's not going to be enough at all. All right, so we'll see you all next week. Again, maybe Wednesday?
Because today is Monday. We're supposed to have a show on Wednesday.
All
right.
Wednesday. Sorry, I'll be forgetting because you know we did a show.
We did one Saturday, right? So I mean, we might not be here Wednesday. We'll see. You know, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
But definitely, we're going to be putting out a flyer with our chair, our Democratic chair. Make sure you really tune that one. I think this is a really important conversation. She literally just got arrested not too long ago. We want to talk about all those things.
Yeah, she was getting into good trouble.
Getting into good trouble, and we're all about that. All right, so we'll see you guys soon. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Make sure you go to the YouTube page, like, share, and subscribe. Go and watch some of our videos, like all of them if you can.
Yep, and we have a QR code on the Race and the Racist Facebook page that you can use to scan, and it'll take you directly to the YouTube page.
The QR code. So please go ahead and look that up, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.